Jessica Loren had always felt the weight of her father's name on her shoulders. Her father, John Loren, was not just a police officer. He had been a man entangled in something darker, something that ended in blood and whispers of cults. The headlines never stopped haunting Jessica. Officer John Loren, tragedy or ritual murderer? Now, standing in front of the crumbling brick building of the decommissioned police station, Jessica felt a strange pull. The station had been closed for years, condemned after the horrifying massacre that occurred within its walls. Yet this night, she had volunteered for her first shift as an officer, and fate had assigned her here alone. The halls were covered in shadows, dust, and faint graffiti. The silence seemed too heavy, as though the air remembered screams. The faint flicker of fluorescent lights hummed above her as Jessica stepped inside, the door slamming shut behind her with a sound too final. Jessica tried to shake off the unease. This was a job, nothing more. A night shift to prove herself, to carve her path separate from her father's dark legacy. She unpacked her bag, checked the radio, and walked the empty halls, the sound of her boots echoing back louder than they should have. But soon, the whispers began. At first, it was faint, like voices bleeding through an old radio. Then louder, closer. She turned corners but found nothing. The sound seemed to slide through the walls themselves, like the station was breathing around her. Jessica told herself it was nerves, nothing more. But deep down, the seed of fear was already planted. Part 2. The haunting begins. Jessica settled at the front desk, opening old files scattered across the table. Most were yellowed with age, documenting horrific cases, murders, disappearances, ritualistic symbols drawn in margins by unnamed officers. She found her father's name in several reports, always tied to the same group, the Malum cult. Her hand trembled as she read. The cult was rumored to worship chaos, to invite demons into the world through sacrifice. Her father had supposedly tried to stop them, but the massacre at the station had painted him in blood. Some believed he was their leader, others that he was their victim. Suddenly, the phone rang. Jessica froze. There was no service line in this abandoned station. Yet, the old rotary phone on the desk rang shrill, slicing through the silence. She picked it up, her voice shaking. "Hello." A deep voice answered, distorted and hollow. "Welcome home, Jessica. Your father is waiting." The line went dead. Her heart pounded. She slammed the phone down, but before she could breathe, a figure moved at the far end of the hall. She called out, "Stop. Police." But the shadow slipped into the darkness. Chasing it, Jessica found herself in the holding cells. Rusted bars lined the room, the smell of decay clinging to the air. One cell was smeared with old blood, symbols drawn in what looked like dried crimson. As she stepped closer, something rattled the bars. A pale face shot forward from the darkness, screaming, a ghostly apparition of a prisoner with hollow eyes. Jessica stumbled back, her flashlight flickering, and the figure vanished. Her hands shook, but she forced herself to stand tall. "This is just in my head," she whispered. "Just nerves." But the station was alive now. It was watching her. Part 3. The Cult Shadow. Time crawled in the station, minutes stretching into hours of dread. Jessica began hearing footsteps trailing her. Doors slammed behind her. Lockers rattled, and in the interrogation room, she swore she saw blood dripping from the ceiling, though nothing was there when she touched it. Desperate for answers, she dug through more of her father's files. What she discovered made her blood run cold. Reports of children abducted near the town. Witnesses describing hooded figures chanting in abandoned buildings. Victims found mutilated, their mouths carved into grotesque smiles. And in every file, the same sigil, a spiral with an open eye in the center. The mark of Malum. Jessica pressed her hand to her forehead. She wanted to believe her father was innocent, that he had fought against this darkness. But the evidence, the rumors, the madness, it all pointed back to him. As if summoned by her doubt, the radio crackled. Static roared, then a child's voice whispered, "He killed us, Jessica. He gave us to them." Her throat tightened. "No." "You're lying," she shouted at the radio. But the static only grew louder, then erupted into screams, dozens of voices crying in agony. Jessica ripped the radio cord from the wall, but the screams continued, echoing through the halls until they suddenly cut to silence. And then, from behind her, a door creaked open on its own. Inside was the evidence room. Boxes towered, filled with blood-stained clothes, ritual objects, photographs. On the table lay a videotape labeled with her father's handwriting, for Jessica. Her trembling fingers pushed it into the old VCR. The screen came alive with distorted images. At first, she saw her father, exhausted and desperate, speaking to the camera. "If anyone finds this, the cult will never stop. They want her. They want my daughter. Malum demands sacrifice, and I tried to end it. But I fear I've only made it stronger." The tape cut to chaos, blood on the walls, officers screaming, hooded cult members chanting. Then, a glimpse of something inhuman, horned, shadowed, towering over the fallen. The screen went black. Jessica fell to her knees. Her father wasn't the monster. He had been fighting them. And now, she was caught in the same nightmare. Part 4. Descent into Madness. The station began to warp. Lights flickered red, sirens blared though no one touched them, and the walls seemed to breathe. Jessica stumbled through the hallways, chased by shadows that whispered her name. She saw visions, her father covered in blood, reaching for her, only to dissolve into ash. The cult members chanting, circling her, their faces hidden behind animal skull masks. The demon from the tape crawling out of the floor, its voice 1,000 screams layered together.